Hi, everyone. I'd just like to welcome you all to this webinar on our new sleep program. I'm just going to do a quick check that everyone can hear me. There is one of our, so we can be heard and you can see on the webcam, so that's excellent, so we can start. So just like to thank everyone for attending this today. I know you're all very busy. And today we're talking about something quite exciting, which is one of our new products that we've got coming out very shortly. So I'm Douglas Hiscock, I'm the one of the managers here, and this is Sam Lane, who can introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Sam Lane. I'm one of the customer success managers in the UK, and my previous roles have involved being a PWP and delivering digital treatment. So I'm here to talk about that side of things.
So one of the things that me and Sam go back a few years now that we don't care to mention, and one of the things we used to talk about when we were setting up one of the IAP services was that we had quite a lot of people who would come into the service who would have sleep problems, and it would get in the way of being able to treat them. So we were always talking about, at that time, I think you created a program with from CBTI, and it was a very good thing, and when we came to Silver Cloud, we were very keen to try and help build this program. It's quite key that people have an understanding of why sleep is such an issue, because as we all know, there are quite big impacts when you have poor sleep. Some of these things are people eat more, people's health is reduced, 3 times more likely to have a cold. Your sleep decreases it gives you a great risk of depression, irritability, anxiety, and it has a huge impact on you. So, and also within IAP services, it always was a bit of a struggle with people who would present with sleep and would only be interested with sleep. So this kind of program allows you to engage with more and wider people. So the whole plan for the program is to try and deliver these so it's trying to deliver the effective treatments based on the CBTI model. It's well within the NICE guidelines and which state that CBT is effective in managing insomnia. It aligns with the step 2 interventions around sleep hygiene, sleep restriction, and it will try and help improve mental health and improve treatment so that people can actually engage. It's destigmatizing, so more people can access the program and they can access the services, and it removes barriers to treatment. One of the key things is that it's integrated in the same way as all of our other programs are, which will capture all the minimum data set and enable you to capture those things as they go forward. So you could see people recovering on this program. So the program consists of several modules in the same way. There may be a couple of seconds as we try and get the program to work. So it's just crashed. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly switch over to my slides. I have a few technical problems this morning. Now I will become technical difficulties averted. So the program has several modules. It's very much based on the Silver Cloud approach to this, making it so that people can move around the program wherever they want to. So we try and traditionally get people to access the Getting Started program, and that's very good because it allows you to normalize some of the things that go on for people when they're struggling with sleep. I went through it myself, and there's good questionnaires there, and you learn things about sleep and how I thought you would catch up on sleep, but then when I did the questionnaire, apparently you don't. And going to bed and not having little naps in the afternoon isn't very good for your sleep quality. So it's very good. It's very normalizing. It tries to ground people. It tries to reassure people what's happening in all the other programs, and then it builds On the other modules, so developing good sleep habits, improving sleep associations, and there's very good techniques in there for people to do it. And then managing thoughts and worries and keeping your sleep cycle healthy is very key. The other really nice part of it is, as ever, there are a lot of programs in this which enable you to release things for when it's suitable for people. And one of them is sleeping less to sleep better, which obviously is about sleep restriction. And then there's sleeping less to sleep better for shift work. And having done care assistant work and done nights, having a specific thing that talks about those problems of actually trying to get to sleep and how it is quite a struggle for people who are doing shift work. It's an excellent module that can really help normalize and ground people and get them to do some of the techniques that are really helpful. So we now have two computers going, so I keep pressing the wrong button, I apologize. So the next slide.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do now is hand over to Sam, who's going to talk you through, from his perspective of being a PWP, some of the tools that are really helpful in the program. So here we go, Sam.
Thank you. So yeah, so the slide you're seeing now is really the main tool that comes up, and this is one that you start to do in the very early modules. It should be familiar to most PWPs as a kind of sleep diary, sleep monitoring process, but there's some really clever bits in here as well, which will just really help to get an idea of what somebody's sleep pattern is like. So the way that it works is that at the start, you start to keep a diary every day, and that's what you can see on the left there. So you give an overall rating as to how well you felt you sleep the night before, and then you put in some details about when you went to bed, roughly how long it took for you to get to sleep, how many times you woke up during the day, during the night, sorry, and how long you were awake for, and then what time you woke up, and then how long it took you to then get out of bed once you woke up. By putting all of that data in, it then gives you a rating about your sleep quality. So it's basically a measurement of the amount of time you was in bed against the amount of time you was actually asleep. And you can also add some qualitative data in there about your reflections on how you slept, why you thought it might, your sleep might have been an issue. There's some things you can tag in. So in particular, children might be the reason why you're waking up, so it might not always be worries about work, it might be some very practical stuff. But the idea is that as part of the first week of the program, people start to complete that, and then as you get more and more days, you start to see these sleep charts appear. So this is the second tab of the tool, and once you've got a few days in there, it starts to give you a kind of average of your sleep quality. This one actually was based on my last 4 days, and it seems that I'm just about doing okay. Anything over 85% is considered all right. And you can see that on average I'm getting about 7.5 hours of sleep, and I'm awake for about an hour. This is because we've just come back off holiday and my children are struggling to sleep. So there's a reason for it, so it's not really bothering me too much. And that's one of the ways in which these tools can work, because a lot of it is perceptions of sleep. So you might actually look back, and although you've gone to bed late and feel like you got up quite early, you might have had a solid 8-hour block, and it just helps you to kind of think about that and build that into your thought cycles. So this is really the starting point of the program, and people should be doing this as they're working through the introductory modules. Once you've got about a week's worth of data, you can start to think about interventions to help any particular problems you might have noticed. Can we go next slide? Okay, here it comes. So these are the options that you get at the next point. So the first one on the left is about establishing a good bedtime routine. So this is a tool that comes into play as part of your sleep hygiene techniques, gets you to start thinking about the kind of things you should be doing. So turning off the central heating if you're waking up because you're too hot, making sure you're not doing something that's too stimulating, like watching a lot of TV in bed the night, just before you try to go to sleep. So it's building in those ideas about how to improve your bedtime routine. And as we do in other Silver Cloud programs, you can put your own suggestions in there, and you can also pick from suggestions that other people have put in there that use that kind of community of people using it. The next tool that you can start to use as well is about improving sleep association. So the first one is more of a behavioural intervention. This one's more of a cognitive intervention, where you start to think about how you're relating to sleep and the things that you're going to do to overcome those negative associations. So in particular, this plan is about thinking about what are you going to do if you wake up in the night time. If you do wake up and you're still awake after 15 minutes, where are you going to go? Is that room prepared? What are you going to do in that room? And when is it you're going to go back to bed? So it starts to build on these associations to help you get over kind of tossing and turning in bed for hours at night without going back to sleep. And then a couple of other helpful tools. One of the things you might choose to do as part of your bedtime routine is some kind of relaxation. So you might use some of the PMR tools that we've got. And then there's also a white noise option down there, which some people find very helpful. Yeah, you can play that as well. So these are tools to help you factor into your bedtime routine. And this is kind of the next stage of sleep interventions that you might like to guide people towards.
And one of the things just here is these are all printable, aren't they? So one of the recommendations in there is not to use iPhones and things in your bedroom. So we've made it available so you can print them off.
Everything can be printed off. Yeah. And there's also on further pages things like worry diaries and stuff like that. That can all be printed off as well. So you don't have to take anything digital with you.
Okay. Cool.
And there's the troublesome slide coming up. There. It has worked. Okay, so then as a kind of next level of challenging sleep, there's a couple of additional tools that you might want to start working on. So the one on the left is a demonstration of sleep restriction. So these are this is the module that can be unlocked. It's one of those interventions you have to think about a bit before you use it, because the idea of it is that you end up depriving yourself of sleep. So particularly in the shift worker modules, it gives you a lot of advice about making sure you don't get up and operate heavy machinery a lot and things like that, and you can't be making yourself tired and then putting yourself in danger. So there's a little bit of consideration about that, but all of that information is in the module. And so once you decide that it's a good intervention to do, the idea is that by restricting your sleep to a certain amount of time, or restricting the time you're in bed to a certain amount of time each night, eventually will mean that you're sleeping more and waking less, because you're so tired that you are having to use the time to sleep. So this is an example that I tapped in this morning to come up with a sleep restriction program. So for somebody who for the previous week had a sleep efficiency of 80.7%, it then does a calculation to look at what you would need to do to get up to 85% efficiency based on the amount of time that you're waking and sleeping. And then it gives you a time prescription. So this is a really clever thing that it can take a lot of time for people to work out if they're doing it paper-based, but this does it for you. So this person would then aim to do 7 hours, 54 in bed each night, and regardless of how tired they feel after 7 hours, 54, they still get up, they still do their daily routine, they don't nap during the day, and then they go to bed at the time that's prescribed.
So this calculates that for you?
It does it all based on your week of, as long as you've got a week of data in there, it will give you a sleep efficiency rating and a calculation. And then there's another piece of text below. So what you can do is it will tell you how much time to spend in bed, and you can decide when that is. So if you actually like to get up at 6:30, you can press a minus down there and it will move the time back. So it just gives you your window of time.
Yeah. Okay, so that's very clever.
Yeah, it's a bit more tricky with, so it mentions again with sleep and shift work, some people might sleep in phases.
Yes, I remember that.
So that's a bit trickier to do, but it's the block of time is the thing that's important. And then if you, after that week, if your ratio has gone up to 85%, you're then supposed to add, I think it's 15 minutes on each night or each week, until you get to a point where you're perhaps going to bed, at kind of 10, half 10, and getting up at 7, something like that. I think this is probably quite a mild sleep problem I've tapped in here. You might get people who have got, kind of much longer times that they spend in bed, so you might find it takes a while. And again, there's a bit of a notice about this one that it's not a quick fix. This is a kind of month-long intervention, so people need to commit to it, and that's why it's locked, I think.
And in your experience, when you previously did this as a PWP, would this be quite a hard thing to get people to do because of the complication of this? Does this kind of tool make it easier for people to do that?
Yeah, I think the tool definitely makes it easier. I think it's a tricky one to do, particularly if the issue is your children waking up in the night time and coming into bed and turning horizontally so they kick you, then doing something like this isn't necessarily going to help that. And actually, if you're then kind of restricting your sleep and you're getting woken up, with something you can't control, then it's not a good time to use it. But again, that's all covered in the module. So this really is for people who are waking up. The reason is that they've perhaps got something on their mind, or they just can't sleep. It's kind of a physical situation. That's really the best time for this to work.
But it's quite structured and enables you to get through that.
Absolutely, it tells you it's got all of that, and then this is why I think we've also got the worry modules, which are later on in the program. So these are similar to the things that we've got in the full worry module, the full worry program, but you can do part of the one of the tools in the worry program is about doing a worry diary and evaluating and challenging those thoughts. Again, that's a really very familiar PWP intervention. Where you kind of balance it out. Again, there's some guidance to say this is not the kind of thing you should be doing if you wake up in the middle of the night. The idea is that you do this during the day at a time when you are not supposed to be sleeping. But that, again, that's all covered in the content. But this is a way to challenge some worries. And then you've also got a kind of practical overcoming worries tool, which is called the planning, preparation and problem solving tool. So in there, it just helps you to kind of put a practical approach in place as, I will do this, I will do it when, and I'll do it at this, for this long. And that just helps you to overcome the worries that you might be thinking about. So again, these are kind of practical tools you can use to just overcome a certain aspect of sleep difficulty, which is worry. And that's often what a lot of people will be coming to you for.
And do you populate that on the program, or
so with the middle one, that's populated on the program. So on the separate tab there, this is an example, but the My Situation tab allows you to populate all that in the program. On the one on the far right, there's you can use your journal to do it, or you can use just a piece of paper and pen.
Oh, that's very helpful. Okay, well that sounds excellent. It's always a relief when the next page comes up. So we're very conscious of time and allowing people to have some questions. So if you have any questions, please put them onto the question bit of the webinar, and I'll go through them at the end, and I'll just keep an eye out them. But if any come up, we'll deal with them right at the end. But so one of the things, just to be clear here, this is the program is based on the NICE guidance, and it's based on the current research. We've worked with people to make sure that it works for people, and the tools are really good, and they actually make people be able to do things quicker than you would do with just using paper or pen. It aligns with the current step 2 interventions. Do you want to say anything about that, Sam? Or?
Well, no, hopefully you'd have seen that from what I've just gone through there, that it really does match onto the tools that you can use as a PWP.
So, and then for me, the thing that I used to remember from being an ops manager was that people would say, I've just seen this person, and really they just needed a sleep program, because they really didn't recognize themselves as having depression or anxiety. And it really is, that's destigmatized. We always thought it would be good to be able to deal with what someone's coming to you with, rather than having to sort of try and encourage them to think about depression and anxiety. So it's destigmatizing. It will improve access, because obviously people will recognize that more, and they'll be more able to come forward and ask for that help. And it will improve engagement because of that, because of the fact that it's more engaging and it's more about how that person's coming. Accessible and supportive when the individual needs it. So again, the real advantage with Silver Cloud is that if someone wants to start doing this, they can do it whenever they like. They can work it around their work time. They can do it, say, for instance, if they're really struggling, they can get up and do this in the middle of the night, actually start using some of the program to help them think about how to do it. It's there and then when they need it, rather than having to talk to someone. The other bit is just to remember that it's fully integrated into the data sets. We collect all the data, as you know, if you've got the standard Silk Cloud programs, and obviously that's really key, is making sure that that integrates across into your data system, so that you're not having to do a huge amount of work, as we know you're all very busy out there. So it's really quite an exciting program, and we're very keen to hear people's views on it and get out there and show people how it works in everyday, and get people to use it, which would be lovely. So that's enough from me and Sam. Now I'm just going to quickly have a look at the questions and some. So the first question is that I may have missed it, but does the program track sleep, or does it need to be entered manually? So
at the moment it's entered manually. You should be. It kind of matches a lot of what the kind of Fitbits and Apple Watches and the like measure, but there is no current way of kind of porting that data into.
No. So
it is a case of tapping those in, but you can use our app to do that, and it's a very quick process.
And I'm sure it's something we want to look at in the future, which would be good.
Good idea.
One of the questions is, when will this be available? It's available. What we'll do is we'll send an email around to everyone, and just to see whether you'd like to have a demo and have a look at the program and have a look at it yourself. If everyone's happy, we'll send it through to everyone. Oh, the wrong way. And then let's listen on. Okay, so just wondering if there's a minimum sleep window prescription the program will suggest, e.g. not going below 4 to 5 hours sleep.
I don't know the answer to that.
No,
you'd think it should be.
It should be.
But we can check.
We'll just check that. That's a very good question. So I think we are having a few technical difficulties, which I think me and Sam have managed very well in the background. So that it seems to be all of the questions that have come through. If there's any more, we'll just give it a couple of seconds.
The downloadable sleep diary.
Oh no, there's loads coming through now. Okay, hang on 1 second. Okay, is there a downloadable sleep diary in case people want to keep a paper version as well?
So you can print off the paper version,
Yeah, so that's definitely there. I think that we've been very keen to make sure that the advice is don't take your digital technology to bed with you, and making sure that actually you can print these things off and do it by themselves. So apparently the audio's gone. If using a Fitbit or equivalent, presumably you would need to tell people to ignore any apparent awake periods unless they are aware of them.
Yeah, I mean, when I did use a Fitbit, it was always pretty accurate, I have to say. But yeah, I guess you don't want to just be plugging data in that doesn't make any sense to you. So yeah, so use it as a guide, but put in what you feel is the right levels.
And I've used a couple of sleep programs, and I've found them slightly inaccurate because they tend to be based on when you pick your phone up, not necessarily when you wake up. So I think that you probably, when you're working with people, is get them to be aware that sometimes with these sleep, some of them are very good, but some of them don't actually measure when you're asleep and when you're awake. So, okay, so if there's no other questions, which it doesn't look like, I'd just like to thank everyone for being part of this today, especially Sam for coming in and doing this as well. And thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.